size, decrease size. It's good. Everybody can see it, right? It might be a little bit too dark. Is it dark or is it like visible? Visible. It's visible. So I don't have to make it light or light. Oh, awesome. Okay, so we start? Oh, incredible. So, hello everyone. I'm Kiran. I'm in my 4th year. Wow. Yeah, I'm in my 4th year. A little bit about me. I don't have a slide or something. I joined HSP in my first year and incredible community, incredible people. I remember my first workshop was this build your own website thing taken by Saksha. It was then ACM Master. It was really fun. The sort of people that we have, very varied tech interests, lots of tech background. I think you've heard enough. I don't have to market HSP at this point. Alright, so today I'm going to take a workshop on Modal Editors. Right, so how many of you are first years? Just raise your hands. Awesome. And how many of you are programming for the first time in your life? Never done any sort of programming. That's incredibly surprising. Okay. So, first years, but you do have programming experience. So, the way I envisioned to take this workshop was to take it for folks who basically don't have enough programming experience. You don't know what Python is, what Slang is, and you're just getting into this world. Like that's how I started. Back in first year, I had zero clue what all these languages even meant. What did it even mean to do any sort of programming? So to follow this workshop, you don't need any kind of prerequisite knowledge. Alright, it's all going to be from first principles. I don't assume anything. And with that out of the way, what I'd like to, so the topic for today is Modal Editors. How many of you know about Modal Editors? The editors in general. Oh, okay, just one person. So, I think the first question we should ask is, to do any sort of programming, why do we need like MS Word? Why can't you just use MS Word for programming? Right? Why do I need like this special editor like VS Code or Sublime Text or Atom or these modal editors like Neovim and Vim and everything? And at first it might seem like this question is dumb, right? Most people would laugh it off like what VS Code for programming does. It's basically a meme at this point. Some people use Word for programming. But that's an incredibly important question to ask because why can't we use these programs? And the reason is because MS Word is a rich text editor, right? VS Code, Sublime, and Atom are plain text editors. So what's the difference between them? The main difference comes down to this. If you write hello world, or any sort of program, MS Word, right? And when you click save, what is written to the disk at the end of the day is not hello world. It's like it's this entire format. It's this file. It's a zipped file that contains a bunch of metadata, like what styles are applied, what's the font family, whether it's bold or not, whether it's underlined. There's this rich information about your text, about how exactly it's laid out, whether there's images, whether there are non-breaking spaces, at what positions. VS Code Word will sometimes automatically insert non-breaking spaces to wrap text and everything. And that's not what. And when you give Python this Word file, right? It does not expect all this information, right? It just expects the bytes print hello or print hello world or whatever. And this is where plain text editors come in, right? Like VS Code, Atom, Sublime Text, and everything. Where what happens is that if you write in VS Code print hello world, and if you inspect the underlying file, right, what's written to the file system, you will see the bytes hello world itself. There's no extra metadata. There's nothing, and even like you might think, oh, but VS Code does like syntax highlighting. It prints like print this one color, strings another color. So this is all just at the rendering level. In that when VS Code shows you the file, it just paints all of them on top. What it writes to the file, it doesn't write any of this information to the file actually. So with plain text editors out of the way, I'd like to now move on to modal editors. So how do you usually edit text in VS Code? You write some program, say you want to edit something, you might use your arrow keys to move around. You use your mouse to click somewhere, maybe select something, delete some words, fix typos, yada yada yada. But you see how, and all you do with your keyboard, right, is that you just have these letters, and all you can do is insert letters, and you have to use these arrow keys to move around and mouse to move around. What modal editors bring to the table is that you don't have to really, you have this entire keyboard, and you're just using it for inserting, right? Like it'll be interesting if you could somehow use the keyboard for moving as well, right? You have this like essentially like a device that can do a lot more than what it's being used for, and that's what modal editors come in. I'll explain more about all of this as we go along. Alright, so first thing that I'll do is that I have written this configuration. So what I'll do is I'll delete my configuration and we'll start from scratch again. Alright? Yes. So I said that I just deleted my configuration. What do I mean by this? The way most of us are familiar with configuring software, for example, Chrome, you want to change an appearance of Chrome, you go to some graphical menu, you click some boxes, have some drop down menus, and there it is, you change appearance. If you want to change your WhatsApp's backup into it, again, there'll be like some menu that you can go and click and, so the way we are mostly used, we are used to configuring software is via these graphical menus. This is a terminal, right? And Neovim is a terminal app. The way you configure terminal apps is by writing these settings to a file. And what happens is that the program, whatever program you spin up, will just read these settings from the file and apply to its instance. This is true for most terminal apps. The shell, you might have heard of grep, if not heard, it's completely fine. Like most terminal apps use this concept of using a file to configure, to set some settings that you'd like to be default. All right. So first, what I'd like you to do is that I want everybody to go to this website, homebrew.hsp-ec.xyz, homebrew.hsp-ec.xyz/post/modal editors. And there, there's so now that we have sort of an understanding of what Neovim is, what these plain text editors are, let's just directly jump into Neovim. Right, so if you're on macOS or Linux, I wanted to copy this command. If you're on Windows, I wanted to copy this command. So just triple click, you select the entire line, right? And I wanted to open your terminal and paste it and run it, right? Oh, the link is here. homebrew.hsp-ec.xyz. Oh, okay. It's a very long command. It's sort of annoying. How do you want to do this? Do your friends have internet?
You have the source code.
Nobody has internet at all.
Crazy.
Okay, let's do this very quick. I can't.
I didn't know Electron could just take a link.
Okay, do this. Connect to PES Wi-Fi. Right. Alright, so now if you just connect to PES Wi-Fi, don't go capital code to nothing of that. Just connect to PES Wi-Fi, right? And if you go to
Is he hosting the site on his local IP?
Right. So just connect to PES Wi-Fi, right? Don't go to the capital portal and everything, and just click on these. This is $text file, and just copy paste the command from the text file. Can you do that? connect to PES Wi-Fi, go to 10.1.3.147, colon 8000. But you need to be connected to PES Wi-Fi. 10.1.3.147, colon 8000. If you're on Windows, click on Windows. If you're on Linux or Mac, click Linux Mac. Is it working, Smaran?
Yeah.
Cool. Is it working, everybody? Raise your hands if it's working. 10.1.
I'm scared of
How too many people are on? Oh, no, just connected. No capital code. It's just connected. It's open network.
Wait, my juniors would use it. Everybody's a junior.
What happened?
They don't have, but like, how are what?
Oh, there is.
They give it to me. Yeah.
Awesome. So,
Wait, when the computer starts? A few weeks ago.
yes.
Third wave.
I think we're getting 300.
My credentials are oh, this is the first year.
They keep changing it. For a long time, they actually.
You know, by the time they do this, they could have copy pasted the code, like type of code.
Yeah.
Are there other reasons why you need to update this plan? No. Is this the only thing they need? Yeah. Kiran, is this the only thing they need, or do they need to copy paste other things in the future?
It's the only thing that is
Then just show no, they can just type it out.
very long.
It's really not. By the time they're connected to PES Wi-Fi, going to your local IP,
But I think it's better if they have Wi-Fi.
it's better if they
Have Wi-Fi.
that's the.
Now I need to add this.
Okay. Raise of hands, how many of you are, so you can go to the capital portal, just connect to the PES Wi-Fi. There are two ways. I mean, you can just, once you're connected to PES Wi-Fi, go to 10.1.3.147, colon 8000. Raise of hands who have done this. Awesome. And you're able to like, you got the command, you run the command. Oh, yes, no, maybe. What happened? There.
Just come.
You can run this? Oh, you run
Just
it?
run it and
One of the okay, how many of you have not finished? Can you please raise your hands who have not finished? Can somebody please help them? Okay, keep yourselves connected to PES Wi-Fi. I'll note things in this directory. Right, whenever I tell you to like, get something, just grab it from here. If you don't have internet access. Got it? Got it? Makes sense? Alright. Okay, raise your hands who have finished it so that we can, we'll move on to the next step. Finished it? Guys, done? Done? Everybody there done? Done? Laptop done? Alright, cool. So, now that you should, what that did? Is this one size? Good. So what that did was it opened the configuration file. Remember I was talking about the configuration file, right? That you can write settings in and Neovim will read from that. It opened that file, right? Across platform because some of you are on Windows, some of you are on Mac, right? This path might be the same as you see here if you're on Linux or Mac. On Windows it might be app local nvim config init.py. Alright, cool. Next steps. So this is your editor, right? So whenever you open Vim, this is what you initially see. This is called the buffer. This is called the tab line. Status line. Sorry. This is called the status line. This is your buffer. right? And this, so buffer is a file, a view into a file, right? A window is a view into a buffer. Does that make sense? So you can have a file that's attached to a buffer, and you can have multiple different windows that see the same buffer, essentially. Alright, so once you're here, I was talking about how you can modal editors enable you to use this keyboard that we have, right? What we're used to generally is that you use your keyboard to just enter text. However, in this buffer, if you just write W or E, you will see that you don't actually enter W. That is because we are in something called as normal mode. In normal mode, all keys that you enter are not keys that will be inserted into text. In normal mode, what normal mode essentially is that it lets you move through text in very interesting ways. If you want to actually insert something, you press I, and you will see that the cursor turns from like a block to a bar, and you will see this thing called insert at the bottom. This basically tells that we are now in insert mode. And once we are in insert mode, you can start typing. Right? Cool. And we can type more text. Sure. Right. And once you're in insert mode, if you press escape, you go back into normal. Now, a very common operation that you want to do is that you want to move the cursor around in your text. The way you do that is not, obviously you could use your arrow keys, but since your hand is already on the home, you can use the H and the L keys to move left and right in this block. Right, so if you click H, you move towards the left. If you click on L, you move towards the right. Right, same way, you can move up and down. You can do K, you can do J. Make sense? What? Oh, guys, also make sure caps lock is off. Right. Caps lock is off. H. Good. If you want to delete the text, right? Now these are called emotion. H, J, K, F. This is emotion. This is what you can use to move around in the text. What if you want to perform some kind of an action? Right, so before we move to that, let's talk about more about motions. What are the motions available to us? If you press 0, no matter where you are, you can move to the starting of the line. If you press $shift 4, right, you move to the end of the line. Right, and there's also one more word. And remember we were trying to insert W and E before? Right? If you do W, right, you move forward by entire words. And you position the cursor at the starting of the word. If you want to move back by words, you press B. Are these motions clear? Right? W for words. Right? B for backwards. And E will also move by words, but if you position the cursor at the end of the word. Does that make sense? So this already is incredibly powerful. What would have taken in VS Code, like you have to do Alt arrow, or if you want to move the starting of the line, you do Control Shift arrow, Control Shift right arrow. It's just one character, right? So these are called motions, and motions enable us to move throughout the buffer. Does that make sense? Guys, alright? Cool, thank you. And so now let's talk about actions. A very common operation, like obviously once you enter text, you go back to normal mode. Oh, let's talk about entering text first. So one way to enter text is by pressing I, right? What I does is that we go into insert mode, right? And then we press escape to come back to normal mode, right? You will see that if my cursor is here, if I press I, I'll start inserting between D and E. What if I want to? Well, I press L a couple of times. If I want to enter a full stop, like after it, if I press I, you will see that I'm placed between E and E, whereas I want to be after E. For that, you press A. Right, so you're already trying to see, you can already see that there are multiple ways to go into insert mode. There is I, there is A, there is also O. What O does is that you enter, no matter where you are, right, where you are in the line above, you press O, you immediately go down, you create a new line, and you position it at the starting of the line. So we can now enter more text. Make sense? Cool. Okay, I press O, I'll come down a little bit. Now let's enter some more text. So I've got like, a very nice example here of this text. Right. So this is a sentence with some letters, words, and strings. This is another sentence with numbers. Right. So if you could just copy maybe this much. Right. This is a this and this is a whatever. Right. Just copy this much. Using whatever we've learned, using OI, right? Enter this text into your buffer. Once you're done, just raise your hands. Once you're done, just raise hands. Alright. So we use J to move down. Right. We'll use H to come down. And then we'll try to fix these typos in the text. Right. So what we can use is E, N, A. We can move to the exact position where the typo was made. Press I to go into insert mode. E. And then escape. Right. So now we fix one typo. And then say go to the end of the sentence, press A, dot, insert full stop, go up, insert dot. Done? This is how you usually go about editing text, right? You go into insert mode, you edit some text, press escape, come back to normal code, right? You move around using HJKL, B to go backwards, W to go front backwards, and continue editing. But there are some more interesting operations that Vim provides us, right? Once everybody's like sort of on the same page, we move forward. I'm being told that some people lag behind. Is everybody on the same page? Right? If you could just raise hands, that would be awesome. Incredible. Right. So now we move on to verbs. You see HJKL, so H, L, J, and K, they help us move around in the text. What we want to edit, right? And edits in Neovim have the anatomy of an edit is like you have some count, the verb, and the motion. So there are three main sort of verbs here. There's D for delete, Y for yank, and P for paste. So you see this sentence here? If I go to the start of the line, press D, Y, this is the yank, copy verb, and then dollar. What this will do is that we move to the start, we start the yank verb, copy verb, and when we press dollar, we give a motion. So we say that from this point, you will see that it pastes whatever you copy. Make sense? Now you can also give counts into Neovim. So this paste is also another verb, right? So what you can do is that again, press O to insert a new line, press escape to clear it, and do 5p. Right, so what this did was, it pasted the same sentence 5 times. Good? Say this is a mistake. Now this is a mistake. Say I didn't want this. How do you delete this line? Right, so what you can do is, you go to the start of the line, press 0, go to the start, press D, and then dot. Right?
And then you can go
So
somewhere
D
and
is
just
the
do P to paste it.
verb, and dollar will delete the end of the line.
You are an inserter, now press.
See, this mistake was actually a mistake. In that I actually did not want to delete this. So there are undo and redo primitives in there. If you press U, it will undo. If you do Control R, it will read. Are you following along, or is this like a bit too much information at this point? Because all I've done is I've introduced the same motions, right? 0 to go to the start of the line. So 0 remains the same. Right? I go anywhere, 0 is the same. Go to the start of the line. Move anywhere, 0 goes to the start of the line. Dollar always moves to the end of the line. End. Right? End. Then go B, go back by a whole word, and if I press dollar, I go to the end. So I think and these motions make up a majority. Like my time that I've been programming for 4 years, these motions make up a majority of what you do on a day-to-day basis. No matter how big the code base, what the project is. This is what I'm doing all the time. Moving my words, moving across words, going to the start, going to the end. Maybe making small changes by HJKL, doing the small things. Okay, so I've introduced the D verb, right? But W is also a motion. So so I can delete entire words with DW, right? So in that, what I mean to say is that I press 0 to go to the start, right? W moves to the first character. So say I wanted to delete everything between where my cursor was to the start, right? So I can give the verb D. So D, W, and then take that span, it's got to delete. And say I wanted to change this to that. So once I've deleted it, I press I to go into insert. And I type that. And I press escape again to go back to normal. So this is a very common thing, right? You press I, go into insert mode, you enter something, and then it's back to normal. Right? You might do some changes, back to normal. Insert something, back to normal. Because normal mode is where you want to be. This is where you have the most amount of moving flexibility. Alright, say, now what I did, okay, I'll undo my changes. So U, right, back to where I was. Now, and say what I want, so you see what I did, all I wanted to do was change this, so DW to delete this, I did that. But changing something is also a primitive of it, the C verb. Right, so what we can do is I can just say CW, and what that does is that it deletes the word, puts me into insert word. So now, once I've done CW, I can enter that and escape to go back to the right. I'll undo these things again. Right. And so what we did before was we did DW to delete the word. I to go into insert. Press that. However, what we can do instead, so I'll press J to go down, 0 to go to start. And then instead of doing D, W, and then I can just directly say change word. So CW. So C is the verb here. Is everybody following? Awesome. So you will see that doing these line-wise operations, going to the start, D and then dollar, right? This is a very repetitive action. Like this, you'll do this a lot of times. Deleting entire lines or yanking entire lines. So Vim has sort of special cases for this. If you just repeat the thing again, so if I say D and then D again, it's going to delete the entire line. D and then D again, it's going to delete the entire line. If I say Y and then Y again, it's going to copy the entire line. So if I do P, I've copied and pasted. I can do count P, right? So I can do 5 P, so paste the same thing 5 times. I can do this with deleting as well, right? So I can say I want to delete 2 words. So say all I want to do is like DW followed by DW. Rather than doing DW, I can just say 2DW. So most of these operators take a count. And this is common across all of them, right? You give some count, give some verb, and some motion that you want to perform. Make sense? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. Alright, so there's also the change, right? So we were talking about the change verb by saying CW, and this changes the entire word. Then it does that. Say I want to change the entire line. I can just say CC, and this will change the entire line. Right, and I can enter something else. I'm going to press A to go at the start of the buffer. And how many lines are there? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 lines. So I want to delete all these 12 lines. I can just say 12, everything's gone. So you see, are you starting to see a pattern here, like verbs, motions, and each verb motion pair can be given some kind of a count. Does that make sense? Do most people agree with me? Okay, just if I'm being fast or if you didn't understand something, please feel free to interrupt. Right? Please feel free to ask questions, interrupt, whatever. What happened? Yeah, guys, just feel free to ask questions. You want to copy something in between 2 sentences. Okay, like can you give an example? Huh? This is a sentence. Okay, so let's just write that. Right, I'll type this. This is a sentence. All right. And what do you want to copy? So you want to copy these things, right? So what will it do? You go back. You go backwards. So you press B, right? So now you're at the start of I, and you want to copy I, all of this. So these are 2 words. So what can I do? You can do 2YW. I want to press O to insert a new line. Escape to go back to the normal mode. And from escape, from normal mode, I'm going to do the paste action. This now. So I'll repeat that. Did everybody follow what I just did? Alright, I'll repeat what I just did, right? This is a sentence, and I was at the end of the sentence, correct? Okay, actually, what did I just do here? I was here, right? I press K to go up 1 line. I press dollar to go to the end of the line, and then I use the motion B. So I do B, so that I'm at the start of I and S. Is everybody following? Right? And now I want to copy 2 words. So what can I do? I set that Y, the yank. It's called yanking. You can yank something into the clipboard. So what do you do? You can do YW. You can do YW, copy a single word. But that's not what I want. I want to copy 2 words. So what do? You do 2YW. Does that make sense? Awesome. The person with the question, does that make sense? Cool, follow? Anybody, any questions? Please feel free to ask. Anybody, any questions? Oh yeah. Could you please stand up and be a little bit loud, please? Huh? Can I cut and paste? Excellent question. Can I cut and paste? So here's the thing. I'll go down. I'll press J to go down. Okay. So I go down and press J to I delete everything. Right, so now where are we? Here. So now what I want to do is I want to do this is a sentence. Right? Is everybody on the same page here? Right, I entered this is a sentence in my document. Alright, I'll do BTB to go back by whole words. Right? And I want to, and the question is, can I delete this word? So I want to delete these two words. How might I go about doing that? Right? You might think, okay, first what I should do is I should probably yank the two words first. So 2 white double. And then I'll delete them. 2 D double. Right? So, I mean, that's very logical, don't you think? The person had a question. I'm sorry, what's your name? Huh? Nitin. Yatin. Okay, Yatin. So Yatin asked how do you delete, cut something? Well, a very logical way to think about this is that we do 2 white double. We do 2 white double to copy the 2 words. I'm going to press O to insert a new line. And then I'm going to do P. Right? Now paste. And now that I have whatever I wanted, I just remove it. So, go K to go up, L to go on the start of I, and I'll do 2D double. But this is sort of like, too many steps. It's not really a cut operation. It's like a copy followed by a D. That's not what you said, cut. And luckily for us, I press U to undo my changes. Right? U, undo my changes. If you do 2D dummy, power of B dummy, the delete operator, is actually a lie. It's not delete, it's actually cut. So it already copies whatever was deleted. So I delete something, I press O to insert a new line at the bottom, press escape to go back into the operator, and press P. And whatever was deleted will be placed. Is everybody following? If anybody is not following, please feel free to interrupt. Please. Any questions? Anybody? Any questions? Any sort of difficulty? Yes. How do you exit from it? So we come to that towards the end because what we really want to do right now is get a hang of it. Use this editor, and then slowly, when the time comes, I'll tell you how to exit from it. But oh yeah, please go ahead. First question. Yes. Repeat this again. All right. And it'll be awesome if everybody helps out. Listen again. So I do DD to delete this line. DD to delete this line as well. So nothing on my copy. Right. I'll press I to go into insert. And now I can start typing text. So I'll do this is sentence. Right? And once I'm finished with this, I'll press escape to go back to the normal mode. Right? Press B. So what B does is it moves my entire words backwards. Right? What W does is that moves my words entire words forwards. So B. Right? So I'm at the start of I. And what I do is I'm going to delete this is equal to D W. Does that make sense? Make sense? Awesome. Now I want to insert a new line at the bottom. So as I told you, there is O. You can press small so that no matter where you are in the line, Neovim will create a new empty line below the current line and place it at the start of the line. Right? Make sense? And press escape to go back and insert. Now, all you do is just press P. So DW, what DW does, what the delete operator does, is that it not only deletes, it also copies it. So it's essentially a cut operation. Does that make sense? Awesome. Any other questions? Please raise your hands a little bit higher so that I can see you. Don't be shy. Right. If anybody is not following, please feel free to come forward. Chairs here. It's not a lecture. I hope it's not a lecture. And please ask any questions, anything that you're shocked, having a hard time following. How are you? All right. So let's do it again. Now, you will, once you finish writing a sentence, I will press dollar shift code to go to the end of the line. So this is where I'm at. This is a sentence, I enter the sentence. Now what I'd like to do is that you want to, again, you want to just copy, you don't want to delete, right? Just want to copy is verb. What you can do is, you can press B, B, B. What B, B, B does is you move backwards by entire words. Make sense? Now, and if you do W, you move forward, right? So what essentially, so these are called motions. And what motions do is that they help you move through text. Right? You see how HJKL, you can move up, down, left, right. W and B help you move by entire words. And 0 is also a motion. You know, I mentioned about 0, move to the start of the sentence, press shift code, dollar, to the end of the sentence. Right? So these are all motions. You can couple these motions with something called a verb, like some kind of action, like a delete action or a change action or a copy action. So the copy action is called Y. It starts with Y because like you're yanking it out. It's not like yanking it out and putting it in the Alright. So at the end of the sentence, you do B, B, B. Start of Y. And what I want to do is that if you see 2W, right? That's what I want. I want to take that entire span of text and I want to copy it. So that's what you do. So you just add the verb. So you say Y to W. Make sense? So this is actually interesting because motions also take counts. So 2YW is similar to doing YW followed by YW. And Y2W is taking yanking and then the entire motion. Make sense? Again, you press O to insert a new line, escape to go back to normal mode, and P to paste. Make sense? Has everybody followed so far? Does everybody understand what a delete action is, a change action is, a yank action is, and these motions, W, E, B, $0. See, these are the only things that I've introduced so far, right? Like, and these make up a majority of what you do. This is the foundation of it, essentially. Right? And going between modes, I to go into insert mode, O to go into insert mode. Alright. I mentioned how if you do DD, you delete the entire line. Right? So that sounds like a special case. Like instead of doing $0D, you just do D. There are other special cases as well. And those special cases are, if you want to do dollar $A, right? Go to the end of the line, append, so like after the text, in full stop, escape, right? This operation of going to the end of the line and getting into insert mode can be done in just, I'll again do EB to come somewhere in between, right? But the operation of $A is the same as pressing capital A. So $A is the same as capital A. Same way, 0I is the same as anybody wants to take a guess what 0I will equal into capital I. Any questions there? Yes, absolutely. So I was saying how in Neovim, in Vim in general, how DD deletes the entire line. So you don't have to do 0 to go to the start, D and then $2. You don't delete the entire line. You can just do DD. Same way you can do YY or 0Y $. There's also CC. So rather than doing 0C $, does everybody know what the C operator to change? You're not sure really, you do CW to change the entire word. The same way that Neovim also defines a bunch of other special cases, right? And that is going to the end of the sentence and appending, going to insert. Like if you press I, you will place between C and E, right? Press I and place here. That's not what I want. I want to insert the full stop. For that, I'll press. So when I do this, press escape to go back to normal mode, and then L to position where I was before. I press A. So when you press A, you're going to insert mode after the character. Make sense? Cool. So what I was saying is that the operation, like the compound operation of $A, dollar going to the end of the line, then A, we're going to insert dot, right? And then we insert dot. Okay, can somebody tell me, without going into insert mode, how can I delete this backspace? So the D So D is the delete operator. And I want to just delete this character. We have enough information now to like we have enough information. Yeah? DH. What will DH be? That's right, DH. Oops, deleted the E. Any other guesses? Yes. X. X, I'm not introduced X though, so you have to use existing things that are told. DL, exactly. Right, so if you do D followed by an L, right, you delete the full stop. And the reason is because the cursor is actually not, like the block is a little bit misleading in that it tells you that the cursor is on the character, it's not on the character, it's between C and dot. Right, so DL will start D and then L will immediately remove the cursor. Does that make sense? Yes. Huh? Huh? DW. Oh, so if I do DW here, you say? Yes, you can absolutely do DW. Because the only word, right, there's no other word. So, the W operator will end somewhere here, which is new line. And it will delete it. W will also come. So you see how most motions, so what you specify is the motion, the W motion or the L motion, or since the W and the L motion is the same thing here, you've achieved the goal of deleting the full stop. Alright, does that make sense? Capital A, capital R. Does that make sense? Alright. Raise your hands if it makes sense, please. Awesome, incredible. Very nice. Okay, what do I want to do next? So there are other operations as well, like D dollar, for example, is the same as capital D. Right, in that if I'm at sentence and from here I want to remove everything, just press capital D. That's the same as doing D, the name of the sentence. Right? And $5 Yankee till the end of the line, that's also the last capital. Let's go to visual mode. This is like one of those interesting, one of the interesting modes. What is visual mode? So I'm going to enter some text. So I'll do DD to delete everything in my file. Right? So I delete everything in my file. And I start typing. But as I go into insert mode, this is a sentence. Full stop. Alright? Followed? Everybody followed? That is girls are there. Followed? Good. So now I'm going to copy this entire line with YY and paste it, I don't know, 10 times. 10 p. Alright? So now I have 10 instances of this in the sentence. Make sense? 10. Right? So 10 times paste. Followed? Everybody? Oh, what happened? Yes. And can I repeat? Absolutely. So I'm going to do view to undo. Right? This, have you got this? This is a sentence. Alright. Press YY to copy the entire line. And then you want to paste it. So if you press P, you will paste it. You could just press P a bunch of times. Or you can just in a single shot just say 10P. And that's going to paste 10 instances of the same line. Make sense? Awesome. Okay. So what can we do here? Now I'm going to talk about visual mode a little bit. Alright? If you press E a bunch of times, go to the start, right? Press V to enter visual mode. Right? What visual mode enables you to do, and if you just move around your cursor, right? Just L, JKL, you will see that you can select entire, some parts of the text. This is character, so like you select everything starting from here. So this is our selection. Make sense? Basically a selection. And you can do operations of this, like delete. So if I press D, I've deleted all of my selection. Okay? I press U to undo. Okay. So is that clear? I can do other operations as well. For example, selections and you can take our previous verbs. I'm not sure, I'm not able to see verb. Right? That's visual character. Say you want to select entire lines, right? In that, you go to visual, normal visual, you do L, bunch of lines, go to L, and you can select the data, and you can select lines like this. But what if we are here? Like, say, what if you're here? And now we do visual character. Well, you can't really select the entire line. It's like, you can't here, like, you go back. Select this or that, you won't select the whole line or you do it better. So there's also a scope called visual mind where you do capital V. You select the entire line. Make sense? And then you press J, you select, go down, that's a selection, and each form. Is everybody following so far? Right? Oh yeah, yes. You see something? Alright. Awesome. Okay. Next. Now this is next we go to visual block. And this is a type of selection that's only available in Neovim, in Vim actually. Right? And this is where you can select rectangle of text. So we press K, I press K a bunch of times to go to the start of the line. Press 0 to go to the start of the line. Right? And now press Control V. Press Control V, what happens is you get something called visual block. Is everything fine so far? And now if you press, if you just move around a little bit, you select just this block text. Make sense? Can I repeat? Yes, I can absolutely. So, I'll press A a bunch of times to go up, 0 to go to the start of the sentence, and do Control V. Control V. What Control V will do is that it will put you in visual block. And then move the cursor around. You can select just this, like a rectangular selection. When you got to this PS for it. Is everybody following so far? Anybody not following? Oh, really? Is that a Windows?
Vinay, if you want to do like sentence, yeah. V, HJKL, but
Control.
Vinay, if I, let's say I'm only selecting the right, Y, right? Y, okay. I'll do it down here. And I'll press 10P, then it's like this. But if I want to extend 10, now I think. I mean, if I know the controls, I'll be like continuing. Look at this. This is the aerodynamic.
Basically, what it is like, copy. Control Q on Windows.
What's different?
Yeah, so once you do Control Q, you show visual block at the bottom. Yes, no, just go ahead, stay here. Okay, so on Windows, you have to do Control Q because Control V is paste. Alright, so how many of you are Windows users here? Cool. Do Control Q rather than Control V. But on Mac, Control Alt V also works. Okay. Control Alt V also works. Our Windows users now able to control the visual block. Yes? Raise of hands, everybody knows calling the visual block mode. Awesome. So now what can we do here? Well, let's try to change. So I'm going to say C, and I'm going to say this is a sentence to that is a sentence. So press C, enter that, and then escape. I'll repeat that, right? So I'll U to undo. Right? Go into visual block mode. Control V on Mac and Linux, Control V on Windows. Right? HJKL to select text, and then press C. So C is an operator. Right? We are aware of C. It's a change operator. Delete it and put us into insert. Right? Now press that. Now insert that. Once you're finished inserting that, you press escape to go back into normal mode. Make sense? Working, not working? Yes.
Escape.
Huh? Huh?
How do we select?
How do we select? What are you going to select?
Wait. Control V.
Yeah, oh, how do you select? How do you, so yeah. You, again, 0 to 12 is start. You're on Windows or on Mac? Mac. So you do control, not command, control. There's a control key, separate key. Control V. Okay? Does it say, once you hit control V, it should say visual block. Can you read this? Yes. Now just press HJKL. Move around. Is it able to do rectangular selections? Awesome. So you can now select just that. Right? And you press C and say you don't want this. You can just delete it. Right? Or what can you do? You can change it to this. Again. Right? So we select, press C, change, you press this. Like this, it sort of puts you into clockwise placement. Does that make sense? Is everybody following? Raise the hands, please. Incredible. Alright. So what have we touched so far? Right? We touched upon motions, HJKL, how do you move around in it. We've touched upon verbs like D, Y, C, right? How we can couple motions with verbs. So CW will change a verb. DW will delete a verb. YW will get the verb. Alright, so these are all like fundamental building blocks. Once you're comfortable with this, you can I'll show some demonstrations afterwards how quickly you can edit text, move it around, so that especially in today's world with AI, where people are generating code at rates faster than ever before. If you're fluent with this, what you can do is very quickly edit code, very quickly write out. You're thinking of something, you can quickly write it out, test it, and since it's all in the terminal, you can very quickly just open your Vim, write something, just on an algorithm, close, Python, whatever, script.py. And you've got this insanely fast iteration that when VS Code, you'll be struggling with the mouse, the keyboard, the other keys, and everything. So you can see how powerful this modal paradigm is, where the keyboard does different things based on what mode you're in. If you're in insert mode, obviously it does the obvious thing. But if you're in normal mode, it does one thing. If you're in visual block mode, visual select mode, you do another thing. Is this idea clear? Are there any doubts? Please ask any. If you've got any doubts, please feel free to ask. Yes. Is there any way to see what do you want? Yes. Files. Incredible. So far you've been actually writing a file, right? It's this edit.vim file. It's your editor's configuration file. That's what you've been writing, right? You see this plus here? This plus here signifies that the file is unsaved. So now let's save a file. How do you save a file? So this very nicely comes into the next mode, command mode. Right? Now any decent text editor will have line numbers. I can't see line numbers. Right? So this is where command mode comes. Right? This is the remember the start of this whole workshop, I told you about how in GUI apps like WhatsApp and Pro, the way you configure it, the way you change its appearance, the way you have any sort of setting, change any settings by going to some graphical menu, clicking some buttons, and pretty much you go to one. The way you do it in terminal apps like Neovim, and as you'll see throughout college that the other terminal apps like grep, curl, shell, like bash and zsh and everything, and they're also configured in similar ways. When you write to a file, and the program will read these settings from a file. Right, so this is essentially the settings file, and you can change the settings of Neovim on the fly. So without much ado, let's go. Let's get into command. The way you enter command is by pressing colon. Right, so shift semicolon, going to colon, and that's your command. Here we're going to set some option, and we're going to set the number option. So I want to type this colon set number. Right. I want you to type this, I want you to press enter. The moment you do this, you will see a bunch of numbers appear on the left-hand side. Is everybody able to see this?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Right? This hand makes sense, right? So this and and this file that you see, this init document, you can okay, so I'll delete all this. So here, once you have numbers, I can immediately know how many lines do I have? I have 7 lines. Well, I'm going to do 70 on the text is gone. Alright. So I want you to delete whatever you have in your buffer. Right? Can you do that for me, please? Because this buffer is not really meant to, say around this is a config file. So now here, we're going to enter our configurations. So if you open a new terminal instance and you just type enter, right, you will see that the numbers are not, or you will see that new terminal instance does not have a number. Because you not told Neovim what the config is. In order to tell Neovim what the config is, you write to this file. So we just see set number, right? So insert mode, set number. Press escape to go back to master mode, and then command W, right? So colon W, actually it's right. So colon right will write whatever you type to the file system. Make sense? Has everybody followed? Not followed. Okay.
You can also do colon W.
Yep. Has everybody cleared their buffer? Okay. So now press I to go into insert mode. Type set number, right? Type set number. Escape to go back into normal mode.
Wait, so like,
Alright?
if we change
Press
it here,
colon to go into command mode. Is everybody followed? Yes. And now type right WI
it's like bash or
and then press enter. Right? So now it will say that okay, one line with 11 bytes is written to the file system. Followed? Make sense? Incredible. Okay. So you can set a lot of these options, right? You can set a lot of these options. So this file, the way you configure them is that this file is just like these options are not just like normal options. This is actually a programming language. It's called Vim. Right? And it's incredibly simple, right? It has its like comments and everything. So if you press O, go into insert mode. And if you have a single quote, that's how you write comments in Vim. Right? So this is a comment. Right? That's a comment in Vim. Plus colon right, enter, right. Alright? Has everybody followed so far? Yes. How do you give the file a name? Right, so by default, if you open a file, I don't want you to give it any other name because of when I told you to run an initial command. Has everybody run that initial command that I gave you? Yes, no? Right? When I told you, when I gave you that command, what it opened was Neovim's configuration file. Alright, makes sense? Check this. Yes. Yes, can I repeat? So, remember that initial command I gave you? What that opened was it opened Neovim's configuration file. Alright, and what that meant is that you can't really, rename this. You've already opened the file, config file. Right. What you can do is that you can create another file with the same name. And how you do that? You just say colon W file name. Enter. And now a file called file name will be written into the exact same context. Make sense? Alright. Set number. This so again, let's play around with this comment a little bit, right? I'm going to copy y to copy, NP to paste. Right, so now I have something to work with. Right, and now I want to show, demonstrate find and replace it. So say, obviously, in this situation, what we can do is we can go into visual block mode, select comment, and we can say that this is a Vim script. Right, we can do that since we just learned about visual block mode. If you want to follow that, makes sense. Makes sense? Alright. But it's not always that you have your any sort of program to be nicely arranged in grid lines. Right. Sometimes maybe
Just select the comments.
will be on staggered. It's not entirely clear. So now you can not use visual block mode in this. Right.
Yeah, but like only the comments of multiple lines.
So this is where find and replace comes in handy.
Okay,
So
not
what you
just
can
me.
do is that you can press A a bunch of times
Okay.
to go to the start of the copy. Press J
Ah.
to come to the second line. Alright? And we can start a substitution command. So we again press colon to go into command mode. You will see that your cursor is positioned at the bottom left corner of the screen. Is everybody following? Is everybody following? You're not following. Repeat. So since when should I repeat? From what point? Alright, so the premise is that the text is all scrambled around, so it's not very clear how you might use visual block mode to say select all instances of Vim script and press D to delete. You can't do that, right? Because visual block mode will only select rectangular selections. There is nothing rectangular about this. Does that make sense? Right? So now I'm showing how you can do this using something called substitutions. So press colon to go into command mode. Right? Position the cursor at the bottom right of the bottom left corner of the screen. Right? Press S. What S does is that we're saying this is a substitution slash. So this is a substitution, and we give it some pattern. Right? Now say Vim script, and you see Vim script is highlighted. Is everybody following? Is nobody following? Following, yes, no, maybe. Okay, cool. So, and I'm also going to give a space, right? And I'm going to say that I want to delete this entire thing. Well, what am I going to replace this with? I'm going to replace it with nothing. And you see, that Vim script is now gone. Alright? And I press enter, comment will change. Make sense? You will also see that all the other instances of Vim script are highlighted. You see that? Right? So, well, I want to run the same substitution command on the second line. What will I do? Again, press colon to go into command mode. Press S slash Vim script. You don't have to write Vim script. We already told you about Vim script that we want to delete Vim script, right? So just press slash again. So here is where between these two slashes is where you enter your pattern. Right? So maybe this time you want to delete comments. Right? So maybe you want to select comment. Maybe comment with a space comment, and delete that. Right? So we can again on third line, just to repeat myself, just go into command S Vim script space, and then say I want to say that I want to replace Vim script with some other language, say Python, right? Let me just enter Python. So the anatomy of the substitute function is that it's colon S slash pattern, any kind of pattern, slash the replacement. Does that make sense? Make sense? Can we move on to the next section? Okay, so now that we understand substitutions, let's do something a little bit more interesting. Okay? There are 10 lines that will rotate 3D. Oh, this one.
I've done that.
Alright? I'm going to create one more comment. The comment is
What
going
if I
to
want to do it for
be the
everyone?
word,
So it only does for one line, isn't
Yeah,
the next
this
line?
one.
right?
The last
Again,
line.
YY to yank the entire line. 10P to paste. So far so good? So far so good? Excellent. So let's start, substituting. Say we want to replace word with, I don't know, HSP, right? So we're going to start, we press colon to go into command mode. Press S / word, right? And we select word, and you want to replace this with what? You want to replace this with HSP. Everybody following? Not following. Who's not following? Not following. Following, not following. Okay, raise of hands for everybody who followed till this point. Right? Absolutely no questions. Incredible. Alright. So you might notice that it's only taking the first instance of word. What if you want to take all the instances of word? Right? How might you do that? So you can put another slash after this. So you can say S, /word /HSP, and then a slash at the end. And this section is called something called substitution flags. So what do you want to do? You want to globally replace everything. So if you just write G, what it will do is that it will globally on every single instance of word in this line. So replace it with HSP. Okay? And press enter to commit that change. Followed? Awesome. We'll do that again. Right. But this one is a little bit different. So again, colon S word /HSP /G. Right? Make sense? But this time, rather than pressing enter, if I press escape instead, our change will not be committed. Right? So enter, you say, okay, this is the substitution I want to do. Say you made substitution, you ever forget, this is not something I want to do. You can always press escape. Alright? There's another shortcut. We replace word with HSP in our last substitution command. Correct? We can run the last substitution command by running shift 7. The ampersand. If you just click, if you press ampersand, it's going to repeat the last substitution. Right? So J ampersand J ampersand J ampersand. That makes sense? You can combine these with other things that we learned. So, visual mode, right? Say I want to only replace word with HSP in these lines. Right? So, I press capital B to go into visual line mode. JJJ to select these lines. And this is where I want to do my substitution. So, again, with visual lines, with these lines selected, press colon to go into command mode. S word HSP /G. Make sense? Make sense? And okay. Now typing /G again and again and again can be a bit annoying. Right? And most of the time what you want is when you want to replace something, you typically want to replace all instances of that word in the entire line. So naturally Neovim provides an option to us for this. It's called G default, right? So if I just colon to go into command mode, set G default, right? So I'm saying that G is my default, right? Press enter, and now if I run the same thing again, but instead of saying hello, colon to go into. Does everybody follow set G default? Okay. So now colon to go into command mode. S. I'm going to replace hello this time. I'm going to replace hello with I. And notice there is no /G this time. And yet all of the instances of hello in this current line. Awesome. Does that make sense so far? Raise of hands if you followed so far. Awesome. Anybody there not followed? Not followed? Huh? All of them. So what have you been doing so far? Like are you doing like huh?
That still doesn't do
I can't hear you.
Only does per line.
Like,
Oh, you do slash G. Slash G. So, here's what you do. You give colon S slash whatever word you want to find slash with whatever word you want to replace slash G. Okay? Now, typing slash G again and again might be a bit of hard. So you can just do colon set G before. Make sense?
What if I want to do it for all the words in the file?
Yes, that's an excellent question. So now Smaran asks, what if I want to replace all instances of HSP in the entire file? Like how do I do this? Because colon operates on the current line. You get your cursor to where you want to do the substitution, the colon S and then the substitution. What do I want to do the entire file? So there's a little bit of hint here, right? When I did visual doc with visual line and I press colon, you'll see that it's not just colon, there is no cascaded marks, and if you don't enter an R enter, it's about marks. In fact, this is more generally known as a range. So you tell Neovim from this to this, so tick less than starts positions, tell the theorem that this is the start of the range, and tick greater than is the end of the selection. Right, and this is something that's done dynamically, right? Because you select every selection will have different sort of selection ranges, and we can run whatever substitution we want. There's another range called the percent range, and what the percent range does is that it applies to the entire file, right? So what do? We press colon to go into command. Press percent for the percent range, which applies to the entire file. S for substitute. HSP is done with smart. Alright? Yeah, does this make sense? Awesome. Okay. You guys have been great so far. Right? Okay. So, you know, this is a configuration file, right? Let's not forget, this is a configuration file. What config did we just apply? Set G default. Let's just make it our default config, right? Let's go to the top. And then just say set G default. Alright? And don't forget to colon W and don't save. Has everybody been followed? Raise your hands. Wow. Okay, incredible. I will remove all these comments. So there are around what? 10 lines, so 10 DD. Always. Okay. Good. And again, if you see this percent here, plus here, this means you've not saved it. So colon W enter save. So can you see like the power of Vim so far? Right? These substitutions and movements, verbs, visual selections, rectangular selections. Is everybody following with me so far? Right? Everything's clear? Any doubts, any questions, please feel free to ask. Yes.
Can I do an interactive substitution the way find works?
Find in
Vim.
Vim. Yeah, interactive substitution.
Yeah, like with
That's
N and everything.
again, an incredible question from Smart. So he asks, can I do an interactive substitution? Right, so how will I do an interactive substitution? There are quite a lot of ways to do this. Right, and I'll show you one of them. In fact, this is a perfect opportunity to learn and look at Vim's documentation. So for example, this colon S thing, G default thing, number thing, where did I pull it out? Like, did God come and like, it's been done on brain or something? No. Right, all of these options are very extensively documented. For example, if I want to know, okay, how does number work? You can use Vim's help system. Okay? I want colon help number, right? Number. Codes are important, right? So codes specify colon help number. Enter. And this will give us a very nice help page about numbers, like print the line number in front of each line, and N options, X options. Like, there's a lot of, maybe a little bit of legacy here, there's a lot of some CP options, but we don't care about that. All this is that print the line number in front of each line. Excellent. It's default off. We not make it on, so we set number. Right? Say you want to we have G default, right? Let's also look at G default. So code L G default. And this says when the substitute flag G, when on the substitute flag G, so I told you what, like, at the end, so find replace, towards the end there will be flags. The substitute flag is default on, right? That means that all matches in the line are substituted instead of just one. G flag is substituted on, you toggle the substitution of one match. So this is interesting. What does it say? It is saying the following, right? It's saying the following. I'll just enter something. P. Right. What it's saying is, oh, by the way, if you have searched, if you like, if you do like HSP, hello or something, you'll see that all the other HSPs are also colored. Say you don't want them, you want it to be gone, you can just do Control L and clear. Right, clear the highlight. Alright. So what is, so you see, so I'm going to use the percentage. I'm going to say HSP and I'm going to replace it with hello. But actually, this time I did not want all of them. I actually only wanted one of them. So slash G's function is now inverted. Now if I provide slash G, it's just going to use the first match HSP and something. Has everybody followed so far? Yes. Okay. Interactive substitutions. In that, I'm not talking about search. How do you search for a pattern? You just press slash. This goes into command mode, by the way. It might, so you know how I, A, O are all like different ways of going to insert code? Slash and colon are ways of going to command mode. So you press slash, go into command mode, and you just type HSP, right? And this will search for all occurrences of HSP in the entire file. You can press N to go to the next match. You can press capital N to go to the previous match. Okay. Now, what will there's also this thing called GN, right? If you do GN, it's going to go to the next match. That's going to select. What can we do? They're already. So again, if I do GN, 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 it's going to continue the selection, right? Maybe N. Maybe I want to select this. I can just do GN and it's going to select the entire match. Make sense? We are in visual mode. What can we do? We can change it. We can just say C, hello. Right? You can combine GN and C into just one operation. You can say CGN. So change the entirety of the next match. Make sense? Make sense? So this is how you can sort of do it. And here's the thing, CGN is an atomic edit. So this concept of atomic edits is like very interesting. Any sort of change, CW, DW, YW. YW is not changed. Right? So CW, DW, and CGN, these are all atomic edits. And you can repeat previous atomic edits by just pressing dot. So now if I press dot, it's going to do CGN's one and two. Just press dot, and all continuously replace all occurrences of smart HSP to smart. Where is this helpful? Well, I'll give a very small example. Maybe, I want to keep the codes, but I want to delete the entire everything else. Right? So I want to keep the codes, but I will delete all of this context. Well, how will I do? Well, I'll go into Visual Block Mode, Control Q on Windows, Control V on Mac and Linux, press G to go down, and press dollar to select till the end of the line on every single selection. Okay? And now press. Make sense? Awesome. Well, I was talking about CGN. Where is this helpful? Well, say you have a Python variable, I don't know, hash set or set, and say you have hash set dot add one, right? And what can I do? Well, I can just copy add bunch of these. Okay, and I will search for hash set. Cool. And now I want to replace every single instead of hash set. with something that's like, a little bit more logical, like numbers, for example. So what will I do? Well, you do cgn, to change the next match, type numbers, escape. And now what you can do is you can just say dot 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 dot. You change all instances of match numbers. So this is like a very interactive way of doing it. Right? So like, as you're going, you really think, okay, it's actually it's not exactly match, it's a number. So just search it, replace it. Cool. Does that make sense? Awesome. So next up, what I'd like to do is like give some kind of demonstrations and like actual code. Right. So I have some things set up. Let's see how it goes. Oh, by the way, save the file, and in fact, just delete everything else. Right. Delete everything else. Control W, save. And finally, we've reached the point where we want to exit Vim. How do you exit Vim? I think it's a meme at this point. I think most people know how to exit Vim. Right? Just do :Q, enter. And that's how you exit Vim. Huh? You can run the previous command that I gave you again, and you enter Vim. Right, with the same config file. Everybody following? Everybody following? Have I lost people? Okay. So this is all like so you might have seen that so far I've not introduced the ideas of LSPs, for example. Have you heard of language servers? Like in VS Code, how you have like auto completions and diagnostics and everything. I think like since most of you are first years here, just default Vim will get like way like it will work for you a lot. Right? As you don't need fancy features, and you can make do with those fancy features for a very long time. Just because how powerful Vim is. Right? And especially as a first year, you should really be like spending time learning the language rather than VS Code just helping you out, filling words. Because if you don't have because what you really need fundamentally is just a text editor and some kind of compiler or interpreter. That's it. That's how you learn programming. That's how I learn programming. And I think that's how everybody should learn programming because that's how you start with first principles. You know what you need. Right? Like at some point you'll be like, okay, this project is big enough that I need a language server. And then you can go on and build, configure language server in here. And maybe I need keys in the highlighting, like I need fancy colors. I think you should slowly add these things in rather than using pre-made configurations of it. Right, so that you really understand the power of Neovim, everything that's possible to just spell it out. Right, and when you really develop this like sort of very deep understanding of your tools, and you need to have very deep understanding of your tools. Right, today it's your editor, tomorrow it's some other technology like Kubernetes or Docker or whatever. The more deep understanding you have, the tools that you use, the better programmer and engineer you are. Alright. That I'll start with some demonstrations. I have some things in mind. So dots, right? This is a JavaScript example. I want to change all instances of container with element. So I can slash search for container. Alright? I can go to the start. I can position my cursor at the start of this screen. I can do cgn and do element. And I've saved this atomic energy. Okay, now I know that this container here is an ID. So I can just press N and I can be like, I don't really need this. I don't have to actually change this to element. It changes the meaning of what the query select does. Alright? So after the cursor, all of these matches are saying yes, I do want to change them values. So I press dot. And I've changed all the instances of container to element. There is below here I have got types dot index of equals minus 1. This is saying that the variable types does not contain, right? Does contain the word added, started, and continued. So how do you do this? Well, you will see this happens to be one of the cases where all these the block mode, press E to go to the end of the word, press JJ to select all of these index off. And on strings there is this method called includes. So I know that I have to include index off to include. Press C to change, includes escape. Alright? And but I also want to like move this equals not equals to negative because includes already gives me right. So colon S to start substitution. Not equals to negative space. And if you just press enter, it's going to delete whatever was there. Right? We go down, I press and to repeat my previous substitution. Just J to go down again and again. Does that make sense? And I'm doing it very slowly here when you're actually programming. Once you like know all these motions are in your muscle memory, it's incredibly fast, very quick to get things out. Alright. A friend of mine called who goes by the name Kiran, he stopped at LLVMs, right? And he had this like C++. We created an enum of different types of data types like pointers, complex, integer, float, and everything. And we have a type class that holds a type. And what we want to do, right, is that well, we had for every single enumerated member here, we'd like to generate this value. Make sense? So so let's take an example of void here. Right? We had void. What I wanted was is void. Bool is void. Return is a function that tells whether the type that's contained in the class is void. So how would we go about doing this? This perfectly like so now this is where I might talk about complex repetitions in Vim. Right, we know what dot is right? If I have type 1, right, I can just search for type 1. And remember how I told you about CGN, okay, some kind, escape. And then I can just do dot to sort of replace all instances of type kind with some kind, right? This is what sort of is a simple repetition. What a complex repetition does is that you know all these HG, moves and everything, you can store them. And then you can repeat them again. So this is known as macros, more generally known as macros. So let's see how we might go about doing it. I'll copy all of these enum variables. So I'll press P to go into visual line here, J to copy it. Y to N. I'll go all the way to the and I'll paste it here. Right, so I'll paste all of these things. So what do I want to do? Well, I'd like to, I'll just save this. So I'll do YE again till the end of the word. So I'll save this word now. I'd like to do bool is member. I go to the end of the word, press A to start appending after the next. Okay, this is a function. Const. And I'm going to say that this returns whether the kind is equal to type kind. What is this? Well, whatever I copied with YE, paste. Right? I go L. I do. Well, I want to remove this, comma. So we change L to CL. We insert a semicolon and close the function. Right? And what I want to do here is that repeat this entire thing for every single variable. Right? So this is a very repetitive operation. So here's what I can do. I can save this in a markup. How do I save this in a markup? Let's go to the second variable. I'll position myself to the start of the calculus complex. Right? I'll press Q to start recording, and I'll press Q again to record the macro. I'll press Q to start recording. Make sense? Guys, is everybody following? Raise hands. So I'll press Q to start recording the macro. Okay? And then I say bool is complex. Escape from insert mode. E to go to the end. Right? Insert the function, argument, const, and then return kind. equals type and whatever we copy before. So paste.
Copied mango point.
Next. Type line. Base whatever we copy before. L. CL. Change. And close the command. Right? And also position ourselves at the start of the next, enumerator. I'm going to press Q to stop recording. And I'll press capital Q to just play whatever I did before. Right? So, and I want to repeat this for every single one of them. Like Q, 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 Q. And you can see that I've now generated these functions for every single enumerator. Do you want me to repeat?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, cool. So, you know what this class does? Basically what I want to do is that I have all of these variables, right? And what I want to do is that I have this function that tells that this instance of the class contains a particular enumerator. Right? These are helper methods. So, what will we do? What essentially, so I'll take all of these enumerators and copy them. Right? And what I'll do is I'll press Q to start recording the master. Then I'm going to copy this and say bool is member pointer. Right? Const. We return coin type coin pointer. Right, this is what we want to do. Let me just type out what I want to do. Press J to go down, P to position at the start of the next enumerator, and press Q to stop recording. Now, I've recorded that action. Everything that I did, I've recorded. So I can replay whatever I recorded by pressing capital Q. And if you keep pressing capital Q, you now replay whatever I recorded at every single enumerator. Does that make sense? Huh? Make sense? Does everybody follow? Awesome. Yeah, this is pretty much the end of the workshop. Right. Oh, one more thing. Right. I wanted to run, the command that I give you again. Right. To open your config file. One very common thing people do is that since HJKL is so new, people just don't use it. Right. They tend to use the arrow keys and all. So let's do this. Let's just disable the arrow keys to instead display a warning. But we do this for something called mapping. So we map the up arrow, down arrow, left and right arrows to instead display bodies. Alright, so the way we do it is that when you remap, we say up arrow is instead going to be, and we give what is this going to map to? This map to whatever key sequence you give. So we want to echo an error saying that use K instead. Right? Make sense? Right? And I'm going to repeat this for up, down, left, and right. So this is good. So, well, I can just say bye-bye to jump the entire line. Paste it 3 times. Right? Change up to down. And then press J. Right? Press J. And then here, instead of left, and instead, and right, alright? We save and quit, and we run the same command again. Right? If I try to use my arrow keys, you see, it says that no, use whatever this thing said. So what is press enter? Save and quit, we done, and now if I try to use the arrow videos by Drew Neal. It's got like a bunch of very interesting videos on Vim tricks, some very nice plugins that you want to use. But however, I will discourage everybody from just blindly installing plugins. I say you give Neovim a proper try. Like start using it for every single small script that you use, everything that you do in class, and slowly develop this muscle memory. So that once, because it's like the learning curve is steep, but once you overcome that, you can very quickly start editing text. So that typing and program is no longer water. You need to program at the speed of which you can think. It's incredible. You can also join our Discord, right? We share, if I come across more resources, I'll definitely share there. And feel free to ask questions, that we're going to ask you. Alright, with that, thank you guys. You've been an incredible audience.